Quick chew up another mint before too many people start joining in.
Did you get your job?
I have an interview tomorrow. Fingers
Yay!
crossed.
That's good.
It's only part-time, 2 or 3 days a week, but I
Oh,
actually applied
yeah.
for three different jobs over at the park. They contacted me about one. I contacted one of their managers about a different one. I was hoping to maybe hear from them today. But I'll take whatever one I can get at the moment.
Yeah.
Because once I'm in at the park and get my P test taken care of, I've been told repeatedly they don't random drug test. So you know what that means.
It sounds like it's going to be work out pretty good then. I hope it does. It's like a great job. I'd love to work something like that.
Yeah, the one I'm going to end up probably, well, the one I'm interviewing tomorrow, there's a little booth as you enter the park, and somebody pops out and says, you know, $2 to get in, or let me see your pass, because they have annual passes. And that's where I would be, at the little booth, just as people come in.
That's awesome. That's through the
yeah.
county park.
Yeah, that's for Charleston County Park.
Oh,
Yeah, so fingers crossed. I don't see any reason why I won't get it. I mean, they're hiring like 17 and 18-year-olds to do the job. I'm thinking at 64, I might be able to handle it. I mean, I see people of all ages kind of there. The one I want is actually at the park's campground, and working inside their little camp store. So I'd be indoors like all year round in the heat of the summer and in the cold of the winter, cold, you know, as cold as it gets. And I was even told by their assistant manager at the campground last year, the one thing is you're always indoors here, where when you're at the little booth up front, you're outside in the heat and you might get a few minutes to get back into the air conditioning, but depending on how busy it is, you spend a lot of times outside of the booth, you know, greeting people and taking their money and stuff. And I must admit, the July and August heat, even after the years that I've been here, it still hits me pretty hard. It's hot, especially when the humidity's up. All righty, let me quick check the time here. We are rolling up on 7:03. I'm going to turn on the recording portion of this. We have it live streaming as well. I don't really know why I record them since we live stream them, but it is what it is. So we are live streaming, and I'm going to get things rolling here. We're going to first start by welcoming everybody who's here on the call with me. As always, I'll start with our disclaimer that all of our meetings are an environment of education and awareness, and not an open market for the sale, purchase, or distribution of cannabis. We do not encourage or condone illegal behavior of any kind. With that, again, welcome to everybody who's here on the call with me. Welcome to anybody who might be watching on our live stream on YouTube. Also, welcome to anybody who's viewing this as a recording later on YouTube. When I mention YouTube, I do like to point out that during the live stream, we are not monitoring the comments section on the YouTube channel. So if you do have any questions, comments, and/or concerns, leave them down below off to the side wherever your device lets you leave comments. And once YouTube is done rendering the video, usually 24 hours or so, we will revisit the comment section and try and address any of your questions, comments, and/or concerns. See who else, got somebody else in here. Our conversation tonight, when I posted it early today, I was posting it as the S-150 update. I've kind of changed that on another share that I did a few minutes ago, or half hour ago. It looks like S-150, the Compassionate Care Act in South Carolina, is dead. Not the news that any of us wanted to hear. Personally, I'm very frustrated by it, even though, how did I describe it? The worst medical cannabis bill for the people. that there is in the nation, and our legislature still can't get the job done, can't get it passed. And it looks like they basically killed it on a technicality. We've been waiting for days for this to kind of come up. I know that started last Wednesday, I believe it was, when we were hoping the House would pick this up. They've sort of been dragging their feet and getting to other things and pushing it off. Or actually, my understanding was they were taking things in order of how they were on their list and what list I'd like to see. But it took them until today at about noon or so till they actually finally started addressing the First Amendment to propose to it. That First Amendment was to, or challenge, I guess, debate on it was that it was a Senate originated bill that has financial generation, tax generation, revenue generating, that's the word I'm looking for, in it. And according to the state's constitution, all bills that are revenue generating bills must be originated in the House and not in the Senate. Although there was a companion bill in the House for the Compassionate Care Act, sponsored by Representative Herb Kurzman. Early in the session, we knew that that was really not going to go anywhere. I think the information I received was that they were going to sit on it and wait to see what happened with the Senate bill, because the Senate bill was backed by Senator Tom Davis, who has been actively trying to get a medical bill passed for 7+ years now. We're going into the 8th year on this. And like I say, it seems that they killed it on a technicality. That First Amendment or challenge that was brought up today was that it was a revenue generating bill. I want to say the chair of the House, Representative Pope, and I'm not sure if he's actually the Speaker of the House or not. You might fill me in if you know that. But Representative Pope was the Speaker, at least for today. So I'm assuming he's the Speaker of the House. Said he would take the question under advisement and investigate it. And shortly after they took a 1-hour lunch break, he said he would try and have an answer after lunch, or hopefully not long after that. It turns out it was, I forget, because I ended up falling asleep through part of it, closer to 4 o'clock, 3:45 this afternoon, when they actually brought it back up again. And he based his decision on the 6% sales tax. The way apparently it was worded in the bill was not that they were applying the existing 6% state sales tax. He read it as if it was an additional or a new 6% tax on the sale of cannabis. And basically for that reason, it was not using, again, I think he misinterpreted it, or it wasn't phrased well or something. But my understanding is that 6% sales tax was the state sales tax. His take on it was that it was a new and or additional tax, possibly above and beyond the 6% sales tax, which is not my understanding of it. But because of that, he found that the objection was valid. He sustained that objection. Right at kind of at that point, Representative Rutherford appealed that decision. Actually, prior to the actual appeal, tried to state that we could, modify the bill to take out this revenue generation. But Pope had determined that since he had already made his decision, it was too late to change the bill. And so then Representative Rutherford appealed the decision, and almost immediately Representative McCravey proposed to table that appeal. It actually went to a quorum to a vote on whether it should be tabled or not. The speaker, Representative Pope, actually recused himself and stepped back, and another representative took over the speaker position. I don't recall his name. He didn't seem, in my opinion, to do a good explanation. He was trying to explain what that vote would be. You vote yes if you wanted it to be tabled, no to not have it tabled. But there was some interruptions during that explanation, and I don't think he ever really finished fully explaining that before the vote. The reason I kind of say I think there was some confusion on that is because there was even a sponsor to the bill that, or a co-sponsor on the bill, that voted yes to table when I think they were voting yes to move forward. I don't know. I mean, that was sort of confusing why some of the supporters and co-sponsors seemed to vote against it in that quorum. But that vote was 59 to 55 to end up tabling the bill, or tabling the appeal, in essence, killing the bill for the session. I did talk to somebody else from another organization a little bit later this evening, and they said, well, there may still be a slim chance of remedying that tomorrow. I don't think there is, and from the other conversation from advocates in the state that I've seen, they don't believe there's any remedying of that tabling tomorrow either. We are at the 4th of the month. Session ends next Thursday, that's the 12th, and I just don't see any remedy to this. If somebody knows otherwise, please fill me in, educate me, because I'd love to know. Matter of fact, when this whole tabling thing went on, somebody says, "Does that mean it?" Messaged me on this on through social media. Does that mean it's dead? Did they kill it? And I'm like, I'm not sure. It doesn't look good. Let me check into it a little bit closer. And then moments later came back with my, after looking a little bit and saying, yeah, I'm pretty sure that it is dead. So that's kind of where we're at with it at this point. Is it looks like the Compassionate Care Act, Senate Bill 150, is dead in the House. Because it was the appeal was tabled, and Senator Davis has got the fortitude to do it. We'll have to reintroduce, either early introduce in December of this year, or basically in January of next year, 2023. Meaning, again, it's going to have to start right back in committee in the Senate, try and work its way out of committee to the Senate floor, from the Senate over to the House, through its committee, probably again the 3M committee again, and do the whole thing over again. That's my take on it. Anybody else have anything they want to sort of add or put into that? I see a comment here from Mike. Let me see what he's got. I love it. Mike Harvey, one of my dear participant here, and also our veteran advisor here for NORML. I've asked him to kind of be our veteran advisor because I'm not a vet. I'm ill-informed on veterans issues. So he's been there to help me out with that. Says he's already updated his rep, Chris Wooten, that since medical cannabis has been trashed, they're taking up First Amendment auditing. I am a bit of a First Amendment audit addict, not as actually as an auditor, but as one to watch them on YouTube, to comment on some of these different departments that do these horrendous things. I do have my plans to actually audit the Charleston County Criminal Justice Center, primarily because a couple of years ago I was called in for jury duty And when I was called in for jury duty, you have to go through this metal detector to get in. And not on my first day, but I think it was on a recall day, like the second or third day, I happened to carry in this small, and I don't have one on the desk in front of me, surprisingly, a small little video recorder. It wasn't on, it was just in my pocket, similar to how my cell phone would have been. And I was stopped by the sheriff that was there at the check-in station. And I was told that I had to return it to my vehicle. I could not bring it in the building. I was a little miffed by that, so I walked the 2 blocks back to the parking deck up to, I usually park toward the top, so, walk all the way up to my vehicle, throw this camera in, walk all the way back down. By the time I get back into the Justice Center, I'm running late for being there for my jury duty. Not that I was at jury duty, but it was still selection again for another trial or something. On my way back through, I stopped and I said to the sheriff, it was a woman, "What's your name and your badge number?" And she was kind of taken aback. "What's your name and badge number?" And at this, next thing you know, I'm getting like surrounded by about a half a dozen people in suits and sheriffs. "What's going on here? What's the problem?" I says, "Well, this person made me take my little camera all the way back to the car. I'm seeing signs around here that show no cameras allowed, but I've got a First Amendment right to walk into this building, and it was only in my pocket. It wasn't like I was using it or anything. And I believe the statute or the rules are, if there is even a rule, is you can't use them in the courtroom." And they went, "Oh, yeah, okay, go ahead, going up to your jury duty." And so I went up to where I was supposed to be in this area. I sit all the way in the back of the room. There's an aisle in front of me, and there's most of the other people sitting up toward the front with a center aisle going down. So I was right in front of the center aisle. And maybe about 5 minutes later, 10 at the most, I see some suit walk in, start scanning the room. And finally I said, "I bet you're looking for me." He turns around and goes, "Oh yeah, judge says you're excused from jury duty." Throws me out and denies me my right to do my civic duty of being a juror. Kind of pissed me off a little bit, just because I stood up to them saying I'm not allowed to do that. Since then, I have contacted, do I have the paper in front of me? It should be nearby. I don't have it right in front of me. I do have it in front of me. I did contact the county, and I made a public records request for any laws, ordinances, and or judge's orders concerning using a camera, carrying a camera, having a camera, and or filming photography in the judicial center. And the response I got back was, that there were no laws, ordinances, judge's orders, so they couldn't fulfill my request because they had no documentation. Oh, wrong side. There we go. There are no documents responsive to this request. So now I'm all ready to go back, and I've just been putting it off for a while. It's either raining or too cold or too hot or whatever excuse I'm using that day. But Mike, you want to come down and join me one day? Or because I think the more the merrier on an audit, to be quite honest with you, more cameras. But yeah, I do plan on doing a First Amendment audit at the Charleston County Judicial Center in the near future. Let's see how that flies. Basically, if you don't know what a First Amendment audit is, it's basically going into a public space where the public's allowed to be, whether it's on a sidewalk, into a city hall, a courthouse, a post office, and filming, taking pictures. This is protected right under the First Amendment of the Constitution. Basically, it is the right to free press. The Constitution basically gives everybody the right to be a reporter and a member of the press. I see too many times, you're way too often on these audits that I watch, the law enforcement will come and say, "Well, let me see your credentials." There's nobody that issues credentials. Some of these auditors have made up their own. They've gotten out a crayon and a little piece of paper and scratched something out, or that kind of thing, and made them up. I know the one guy I follow, he has one little, this is ID Billy Butt Crack. And he says that's his credentials. But yeah, they sound very intriguing. I love watching them. It tends to be what I do in the morning as I'm having my first cup of coffee, kind of check social media and see what's going on in the world, and then tune into YouTube and watch a couple of First Amendment audits. I've got a couple of favorites that I kind of watch, but let me open up in a tab here and see. It looks like I have over 500 different auditors on my subscription list that I kind of watch. Not that they all post all the time. Actually, some of them may not have posted for years. Most of the ones I watch are in the US, or that I've subscribed to. There are a couple that I do watch that are in other countries, I think primarily over in the UK. But if you like somebody who's not afraid to kind of be a little confrontational with public officials, watch yourself some First Amendment audit. They tend to be fun. There are some others that while they're doing their First Amendment audit, may also practice their Second Amendment, and they'll be carrying where they're legally allowed to carry. And again, this is for people that pretty much are aware of what the Bill of Rights is, what the Bill of Rights says, and again, if they're auditing in, let's say, a post office, they're pretty aware of what Poster 7 says, which Poster 7 is a document that was put out by the, oh heck, no, I'm blanking. Put out for the rules and regulations of the post office. Let me take a quick peek here. Interesting. I see Josh here put a post up or comment here that Senator Davis was in an interview this evening and he was looking at his options to get a bill passed this year, even adding it to another bill. I don't know how that would happen if a bill's already been kind of, been made moot in the House, but he stated there's more than one way to skin a cat. Not sure how he's going to do it. He didn't give any details. I did about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, message Senator Davis on both of his Facebook pages, his personal one and his official, senator page, inviting him to join us here tonight and explain to us what happened and what potentially is going to happen in the future. But like I say, my understanding is there is no chance of getting this passed this year. If something does happen, I'd be thrilled to find out. And I don't know. As many of you know, I'm not real happy with the bill. I don't think it's a great bill to begin with the limited number of qualifying conditions, with the fact that there's no flower available. And even as Tom Davis has mentioned, I repeat this many times, he is aware that there's greater efficacy for some folks through the smoking of it, especially vets with PTSD, but he took out flower and the actual smoking of it to appease law enforcement here in South Carolina. My thoughts, and I've said this, if I've said it once, I've probably said it 100 times on these calls. I really think the only way to move cannabis legislation forward in South Carolina is starting at the municipal level, doing either local ordinances by working with city and town councils, and or using the voter initiated referendums and gathering petition signatures and getting it on the ballot that way. Basically decriminalizing simple possession of an ounce or less. We'd prefer it to be a no fine, no time, no court cost type decriminalization. Other options are to have a kind of like a traffic ticket where you get a $25 or $100 ticket. But my belief is once you start adding money into it, that is the hook that pulls you into the system. Where if it was a no fine, no time, in general, what would happen is the officer that might catch you with cannabis would confiscate it and shoo you on your way and say, don't let me see you around here again with any weed. There's a group in Ohio that's been doing it that way. Let me get the right page up here so I can say it correctly. I shared a little bit of one of their posts earlier today. I lost it. Oh, there it is. The Sensible Movement Coalition. They're based out of Ohio. I don't know where they're at now. I think they're at 27 municipalities, cities and towns in Ohio that they've decriminalized through the voter initiated referendum. I will share a link to their Facebook page here in the chat in just a moment. And they're the ones that actually drafted the 3 petitions that we have. We have 3 petitions that I've been sitting on. I tried to start them a couple of years back and failed miserably. Then COVID hit. But we do have a petition for the city of Charleston. For the city of Charleston, we would need roughly 1,500 signatures to do a voter-initiated referendum. My hope is really not to do it that way, but to try and go directly to the town council. I was hoping to start working with the ACLU, as a couple of ins there, and they sort of back down a little bit, saying we don't want to do too much until this medical bill passes. I got that same kind of thing from the folks at Marijuana Policy Project. They didn't want to publicly support that kind of effort while this medical bill was working its way through the legislature. I think they're afraid that, and I must say, one of the representatives spoke at the 3M committee, and the question was brought up to them, doesn't your organization actually support full legalization? And they gave a great response and said, our organization doesn't think anybody should go to jail for cannabis. That was an excellent response. But again, they're afraid to openly help us and support us in a decrim ordinance effort because, excuse me, a little bug flying on my face, because they're afraid it was going to jeopardize the momentum that the medical bill S-150 had. Didn't matter, apparently. They found a way to kill it anyway. Let me see what else Josh has to say here in the comments. Sad to hear that, Josh, but I know you were talking about moving out of South Carolina. I've got your medical card in other area and other places, and I believe you said you had land in another state. Tired of feeling like a criminal, looking out for 5-0 when you can go to Florida or Cali. Yeah. And I've seen that. I moved here with my wife. My wife was following her daughter and grandchildren and their family. And she's always wanted to live near the beach. And both of us are sick and tired of the snow and the cold up north. I don't see that as an option for me, is moving to a legal state. So we'll miss you. We'll miss your help and your efforts that you've given to us. And we'll still be here fighting if and when we pass it and get some legalization and or decriminalization. Come on back home. But yeah, that's kind of the way I've had to look at it is I don't see myself ever leaving the state. So I've just got to kind of work this uphill battle and try and get the laws changed here. And as I've said before, I think the direction is decrim at municipal level. Now, pretty much right after I heard the decision today, I did start sharing our links to the Smoke the Vote page and to our candidate questionnaire. We do have elections coming up in just over a month. We have the primaries here in South Carolina. That primary date is June 14th, with any runoff races going on June 28th. I've only had actually 9 state level candidates answer our questionnaire so far. And so my hope is to start getting some more responses to that. With that said, I'm going to kind of go grab that post. I'm going to share it here. And I'm going to ask the folks that are here on the call with us if you can send out the questionnaire to the candidates in your community. Unfortunately, with our Action Network, it would only send, it would give everybody an opportunity to send it to their incumbents, to their local House representatives, and it is only House elections in the state right now. There is a U.S. Senate race. Tim Scott's seat is up for election this year. So, that is in our Smoke the Vote guide, which again, the link is here in the chat. But otherwise, all the races in the state are predominantly, or in the legislature, are House members. Also, my buddy Alan Wilson, the state attorney general, is up for re-election. He's got one opponent, and that is another Republican opponent. So that will be in the primaries again coming up in June. But I have not seen any other candidates running against him. So if he wins the primary, he'll pretty much be running unopposed in the generals come November. Just real quick check time. I tend to ramble on and forget where I am from time to time. I'm going to go back and just do a real quick check and see if I have any news on social media here. Nothing that I'm seeing pops up new. Yep, let me check this notification here. No, okay. I will be reaching out. I've been putting it off for a while, but I will be reaching out to the Sensible Movement Coalition to talk to them about either educating me on how to draft new petitions for our state, from municipalities in our state, or directing me on how to get that done. They drafted them for us. One of their members drafted them for us, and I'm hopeful that that person will sort of teach me the ways so that I can draft them for any municipality here in the state. I've also been hearing a little bit of whispering that after the medical bill passed was the phrasing. Again, a lot of people that were pushing for the medical bill did not want to get involved in anything outside of that. Pretty much because they didn't want to look like medical was just a stepping stone to legalization. But I've been hearing some whispering that there may be a possibility of somebody's having trouble logging in. I missed it. At the county level here in Charleston County. Give me 1 second. I want to see if I can get this person a better link, although we're kind of late on this. Zoom. I've been having technical issues with my systems as well. Let Let me see if I can send this back to them quick. Looks like I sent it right. All right. Just lost track of what I was saying. Oh, yeah, that again, that's sort of my thought. Now, I can only hope that maybe Josh or Senator Davis does have some trick up his sleeve. I mean, I know he claimed that if the governor vetoed it, he thought he had enough votes to get it to pass without the, without the governor's signature or even, to defeat a veto. And I'm not a legalese and or legislative expert, so I'm not seeing a path forward, but he's been doing this for a long time. Maybe he's got some knowledge that I'm unaware of. And maybe something can happen. Oh, okay. I see it now. So that's kind of where we are as far as I'm concerned. Is I'm thinking it's dead. If Tom Davis has some other ideas, I'll keep you posted. I'll keep an eye out. I will probably reach out to him again later on. Real quick question, Josh, do you remember or know what news station or whatever you saw the interview on with Tom Davis? I know I'm going to be searching all of the ones I can find as soon as we're done with the call here to see if I can find anything. And I will be again messaging him, especially since he wasn't able to join us here on the call tonight. My guess is he maybe has got a number of interviews going on. And maybe he's scrambling too. I don't know. It was printed. Okay. What do y'all think? Give me your insight here. Questions, comments, thoughts, concerns. I'm going to kind of check, see if anything pops up in chat here. I know, I think that's where, I think that's where we really need to go is decrim. I've been saying that for a couple of years now. And like I say, COVID really threw a wrench in my works when it came to trying to collect signatures a couple of years back. I started in 2019. In early 2020, I was all ready to have a bunch of college students from the College of Charleston go with me and start like going door to door and hitting the streets down in Folly Beach. Because Folly Beach, I only need about 400 signatures. They have a population of about 3,000 people or so off season. Now, the problem with Folly Beach is it is a tourist town that although it's only a population of about 3,000 people, I don't even know if it's quite that many, and we only need 15% of the registered voters, and not all of those people are registered. I think our number was roughly 400 people we needed signatures from. The problem with a tourist town is you've got to collect those signatures basically between Thanksgiving and Valentine's Day, or at the latest St. Patrick's Day. While you can find those residents, because otherwise tourist season kicks in, the population jumps from like approximately 3,000 to 23,000, and that 23,000 recycles almost every week, with some people leaving and a bunch of them all leaving, a whole bunch of new ones coming in, and try and find the actual residents then. Another problem with that too is I know a number of people that have homes on Folly Beach. They move off of Folly during tourist season, and they rent their home for most of the season, 6-8 months of the season, if not more. And they'll go inland a little bit and they'll rent someplace or have someplace else to stay that's a lot less expensive, and they can charge a whole bundle of money for their residents on Folly. So it is a challenge to try and find them. Like I said, I was all ready to head out with a bunch of the students in the College of Charleston. And then I think spring break hit and COVID hit and, all these different things. So I don't know. It seems like there's not in school an awful lot of time. There was, holiday break, and then after the holiday break, they were back and we were getting ready to try and organize. And then, some other break came up, and then, COVID hit, and that just blew us out of the water. And then tour season came around again. And now I've actually lost contact with SSDP at the College of Charleston. SSDP is the Students for Sensible Drug Policy. I happen to know who was leading that group for the past couple of years, and that's usually a senior, and those seniors graduate and it passes on to somebody else. Last time I was there was 2020, and I've lost contact. I don't know who's running the organization there at CFC anymore. I've tried to reach out through SSDP's national website and through their email. They've got a Facebook page that hasn't been active since like 2016. So I'm kind of stymied on how to get a hold of them anymore, because the students actually in SSDP, they gain credits for collecting signatures. And that would have been a great help for us in collecting signatures. Yep, somebody here mentions that they'd assume that Tom Davis is busy with his team and working hard tonight. We'll see. We'll find out hopefully more tomorrow. Like I said, I've been a little frustrated. I've actually sent off a couple of little frustrated emails to some people that have not been real forthcoming and being helpful, because they've been going, oh, we're going to wait until the medical bill passes. We're going to wait and see what, Yes. Stop dragging your feet. Get out here and help us with decrim. Was sort of my attitude tonight. But yeah, so that's where my my focus will be in the next couple of weeks and months coming. Next couple of weeks primarily is going to be our Smoke the Vote guide and our candidate questionnaire. I know last week I promised that I would get some more information on the candidate questionnaire out there, and some sort of action alert or some sort of messaging or some sort of email out to through our email system, which I think we're about 980 people or so right now on our email list throughout the state. I will get that out in the next couple of days. And basically what that is going to be is, and the reason I sort of drug my feet on it is I've been trying to get people to write to their House members to move this thing forward, the medical bill forward. And let me go back and see how many we got between myself promoting it and national sharing it a couple of times. We had 239, I think, was the number of people that actually sent letters. Let me see the number on that. My machine's running slow. 239 people sent letters throughout our entire state. I kind of feel a little bit bad for Spencer Wetmore, who is my local House rep. She got kind of hammered by a few people. 27 emails went to her. Because again, we are centered here in Charleston. And so I think a lot more of our followers and supporters are here in the Charleston area. So we had 27 people that were her constituents write to her and kind of clog up her email box. I see, another one here that was 7. A lot of them are 1, 2s, and 3s. Oh, there's a 5. Yeah, so, and I looked for this John McGravy on the list, and apparently nobody in his district decided, sent a letter. So maybe he did only get a couple of responses, and all the responses that he got were people that were opposed because they didn't write through our letter system. I do know that Marijuana Policy Project also had an action alert write your legislator. And I know that, one of the other advocacy groups here, the medical advocacy group here in South Carolina, was pushing marijuana policy projects, email action. And I do know that, the Compassionate Care, Compassionate Access Network, I think is the name of their private group, was asking people to phone call. I'm not one to generally phone call, although I do like some of the ones that came out that said, hey, it's the weekend, you can call and just leave a message, you don't have to talk to anybody. I'm better at sending emails and letters, and I don't know which one's actually more effective. My understanding is the most effective is handwritten letters that you write by hand. They feel that's a more personal touch and taken more seriously. How is this not a lawsuit situation? And I agree. It should be a First Amendment right to, constitutional right to access, medicine. But you have to consider the government, the U.S. government at federal level still has this on Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substances Act. The Controlled Substances Act in and of itself violates our constitutional rights. It's been upheld in the Supreme Court, even by the beloved Ruth Bader Ginsburg, found against the constitutionality of cannabis rights. And it could and should be a lawsuit. But I would say the challenge there is finding an attorney that's going to take the case. And it would probably have to be more of a legal team. And then somebody to pay those attorneys, because they don't do it out of the goodness of their heart. They do it for the money. And it's not a lawsuit that could end up, I don't see it as a lawsuit that could end up putting any money in the lawyer's pocket. I feel discrimination towards me. Matter of fact, we were just sort of chatting with Ina as we got on the phone. She asked about, did I get the job? I says, I go for an interview tomorrow at the county park system here. I applied last year at the county park and I failed the pre-employment cannabis discrimination test. So this year I decided to try and get ahead of it, and I quit back in February. I bought myself a nice box of about 15 little P-test sticks from Amazon. It took me 59 days until I got a negative test on that. I'm all ready for my interview tomorrow, and I'm all ready to be P-tested. I'm not one that felt comfortable either buying P or buying synthetic P and trying to kind of skirt the system that way. Although it's my understanding that a lot of people do and do it successfully. I just felt I'm going to do this and I'm going to, do it legitimately and pass the test. Is that there? So yeah, play the game. And like I said, when I failed miserably last year, it happened to be April 1st. They had called me in to actually get me started on the new job. And I'm thinking, they haven't seen my P-test yet. They haven't seen my drug test yet. Well, apparently between calling me and scheduling me to come in on April 1st and the time I got there, somewhere in between there, they saw my test, and the looks on their face when I walked in the door was like, oh, they're so dejected and so disappointed and kind of afraid on how to address it with me there in person. And I'm like, oh, hey, not a problem. I kind of figured I failed, or I already knew I failed. I saw the test. I thought maybe you were just ignoring it and going to give me the job anyway. And they said, nope, you can't apply again for at least a year. But know this, that once you get the job, if you pass and you get the job next year, that we don't random drug test. I mean, this was like a manager telling me this. And then I've been volunteering with the James Island County Park and some of the other parks in the area that are part of the county park system for 6 years now. Ever since I moved here from Pennsylvania, one of the first things I did was signed up to volunteer, and they'll let me work for free. Not a problem. I can come in, I can volunteer. Last time I'm in, I'm like doing traffic control and taking people's lives in my hand, getting them to cross the street in busy traffic for a festival that they were holding. But pay me? No, then you got to pee in a cup. So anyway, the volunteer coordinator had come up to me. Now, this is a while ago, and this volunteer coordinator has moved on. But the volunteer coordinator came up to me one day and said, "Hey, Scott, I heard you applied for a job. Just know if you come back next year and apply again, we don't random drug test after you get the job." I had at least two, and I think a third person said it to me somewhere along the way, an employee over there. So, I'm figuring I'll get the job and not so much have to worry about it. When you get the job, you get into the park for free with your normal ID card. If I'm at the front gate, I'll say, yeah, I just don't want to get caught at it. I'll pay your $2 to get in out of my own pocket. Oh, that's a good line too, Josh. You've done some crazy stuff at that park as a teen, and they worry about me. Oh, one of the jobs I did as a volunteer a couple of times, not just once, but a couple of times, is I'd work as a beer server and a wine server at one of the other parks serving wine. The amount of alcohol, I swear the one day it was 6 hours solid of just nothing but tapping beer. Matter of fact, I was going to do that the same day that the day I ended up doing the traffic control, because I realized that the beer server job, I ended up sticky and smelling like beer, and I'm not really an alcohol consumer. And I was kind of planning on sticking around a little bit afterwards and enjoying some of the music at this festival. I thought, well, I'll just do traffic control and parking attendant kind of thing. And actually, it was more traffic control than parking attendant. And that way I won't get sticky and covered with beer. But yeah, the one day I swear, well, a couple of times, I swear I'd be at that beer tapping booth and I think we were supposed to start at 10, but people started coming up at 11, but people started coming up like a half hour early, and somebody just gave us the nod, says, "Go ahead, start serving." I mean, at $5 a beer, whatever it is, that extra half hour made them a bunch of money, I'm sure. And yeah, it was just nonstop tapping beers and lining them up on the table in front of me, and then trying to keep up with the servers actually serving the beer to the people after they've paid their money. It was, and they're worried about me with a little bit of cannabis in my pee. But yeah, it's not the staff, it's not the people. I don't believe so. It's government mandated. It is a county government job in essence. And thank you, Ronald Reagan, for making it mandatory that all government jobs require drug testing. That may be rolling back in some of the states that have legalized at this point, but drinking and driving is encouraged in South Carolina. Yes, it is. Smoking a joint, watching cartoons is illegal. Yeah, welcome to my life. You know what it's like, people. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. Is I've decided to quit for a couple of months, and I figured it would take me 45 days, and 59 days until I actually got a clean test. Now I'm kind of just biding my time and waiting, and hopefully, like I say, I go in to get my interview tomorrow, and I get my little part-time job, and I don't know if it'll extend. I'm hoping for this other position that might give me a few more hours. I'm a little bit, I don't want to do it. I haven't worked a real job in 6 years since I moved here. And even before that, I was always pretty much self-employed. but I've got to start contributing to the family, and it's not like I can be on, it's not like I've ever collected any kind of unemployment or any kind of anything from the government. It's just I've been dependent on my wife for all these years, and thankfully she's been able to keep us going. But I felt I feel guilty about it quite often, and it's time for me to get off my butt. I'm not real thrilled about it because it's going to take my effort and concentration away from my advocacy work. Again, talking to another advocate out of Louisiana earlier this evening, he told me he's been having to travel to the State House over and over and over again, and he swears sometimes these legislators kind of drag things out, just hoping that you get tired and stop coming and showing up. Now, I have not been that guy to be going up to the State House over and over and over again. We do know, as many of you on the call may know, Jill Swing with the Compassionate Care Alliance has been. She goes on a regular basis. She's up there very often. And I'm sure that, today's results are pretty crushing. And it's one of the things I've been telling myself I really need to start doing, but I've been sitting back because I am the guy that wants full legalization. I want decriminalization, and I don't want to feed the legislators with ammunition. They're going, see, if we pass medical, it's just going to stepping stone onto decriminalization, onto full legalization, on adult. So I've kind of tried to take a step into the background and not be real blatant and obvious about my intentions on moving the state forward with full legalization. Taking a job of any kind is going to kind of put damper on my hopes of starting to do more of that as we move forward. So yeah, Josh has been there quite a bit as well, and as he says, I have, and I'm tired. Yeah, it's a lot of effort. And like I say, with Jill, she's got the responsibility of her family, of her daughter who needs constant care. And so being able to do that puts a toll on her and those around her, to be able to show up and be pushing this stuff. And she's been doing it more than just these past couple of years. She was up there pushing before I even moved to South Carolina. And got the CBD bill passed. I want to say that passed in 2016, the year that I actually showed up in South Carolina, and she was working on that for a few years prior. So she's been at it a damn long time. I got to give her kudos for her stamina and her endurance on doing this for all these years. Unfortunately, like I say, it's not something that they're really willing to share directly with us. Oh, okay. Christopher says he's logging out. Have a good night. Take care, guy. Thank you for joining us. Oh, and I see we are rolling up on 8 o'clock. Before I kind of just make a quick end to it, before I ramble on any further, do we have anybody else that wants to make any comments and or have any questions or comments about where we are and what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks? No, I do get a have fun at the job interview. The guy that called me to schedule it sounded like he was 18 years old. So I don't know if that's who I'm actually meeting with, but it should be an interesting thing to interview for this job. But yes, wish me luck on peeing in a cup. That's the most luck I need. Like I said, I've been off long enough that I should have no issues. Otherwise, I'm not seeing any other comments. As we move forward over the next couple of days, I will keep my ears open, see if we do hear anything new from Senator Davis, if there is any workaround, any chance of this moving forward. I've got my doubts. Maybe he'll surprise me. But if I do learn anything new, I will definitely keep you posted. As always, keep an eye on our Facebook page. I tend to post more there than I do on our other social media. I do try and also from time to time post on Instagram and Twitter, although not as regularly. From a time to time as well, we do our blog, which is on our website at scnormal.org. So kind of keep an eye on our website from time to time as well. Anybody who might be watching, I know everybody on the call right now with me is on our newsletter list. But if anybody watching this is a recording or on our YouTube is not signed up with our newsletter, go to our website at scnormal.org, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you'll find a link there to sign up for our newsletter. We should have another one coming out this week prior to our second Wednesday of the month call, which is generally our open public meeting. We will be talking about federal legislation, what's going on with state legislation, and then local chapter business and coming events. So that's kind of what we have on the horn for next week. Otherwise, that's it for me. I'm going to take my beverage, nice orange juice and soda and water blend, and go hit the couch and maybe have a couple of Nutter Butter cookies. I want to thank you guys for joining me here tonight. It's always a pleasure, and I really appreciate you being here. Don't forget, if you do want to reach out to me during the week or in the meantime, I'm usually available to chat. Let me real quick check this last note here. Good point, Josh. That's been on my mind too. I really need to start getting out and getting out in public a little bit more. We will talk about that a little bit in the future. Otherwise, I'm going to call it for tonight. Thank you again for being here. Have a good night, and hopefully we'll see you next Wednesday at 7. Good night now. Bye.